Here we are on the 9th of Teves. Hayom Yom. Our custom, this is the Chabad custom in Aleinu, is to say, when they say, for they bow down to vanity, hevel v'lorik, vanity and nothingness, that's what we say. And markedly, we not to say and pray. We don't say and pray. This wording is followed also in Musaf for Rosh Hashanah. And the expectoration after these words, the reason that we have a little saliva and spit, is we do not wish to have any benefit from this saliva. Saliva makes words come out nicely. We don't want any benefit from this when we utter those words about bowing down to Hevel Bilarik. Today's Ayom. Okay, Tanya. Positioning.
Avi, again, why did it?
Because we don't want to have this saliva. Saliva facilitates speech. It makes the speech, the words roll out easily. We don't want that pleasure of facilitating speech when we speak about people who bow down to Hevel Bilorik.
Okay.
Lessons in Tanya. Well, we're starting chapter 9, page 134.
Avram,
Yes.
is it possible to dedicate this learning to the Aliyah Neshama of a matriarch of Sfat, who is actually the Levias right now in Sfat?
Of course.
We
Of
helped
course.
an institute. Her name is Rena Cohen. We actually don't yet know her father's name. I guess it'll be revealed to us soon.
Okay.
Is this Rena, the one from England, from Manchester?
It's possible. She's from Canada. She's helped to start Ascent. She was in her 80s. She's an older woman now.
So her neshama shall have an aliyah.
Okay.
Amen.
And Poel Yeshua's Bekerach Tza'oretz, what goes up, as the soul goes up, it should shower us down here with blessings in a revealed way.
Okay.
So, Perek Tes. This is by page 26 in the classical Tanya. So basically, in our training manual for becoming Beinonies, the Alter Rebbe has told us about the structure of ourselves. We have two souls, not one. So those, quote, natural attractions and involvements we have in only worldly affairs is a function of only one of the neshamas, which is the Nefesh Bahamis. The supernatural and the super meaning that it's above that, but at the same time, it's able to and really commanded to and designed to engage with the physical in a way to bring the physical into holiness is the Nefesh Elokis. So there are two souls and there are two domains. The domain of the Klippa, which is largely the domain of the animal soul, the shell which covers Elokus, and the domain of Kedusha, which reveals Elokus. And so these two souls are engaged in a struggle with each other over which one of them will prevail, and at the same time, which domain will prevail. Will the person be stuck in the domain of the Klippa, or liberated and liberating the Klippa into Kedusha? So now he starts to tell us a bit more about the anatomy of these two souls and their effect on the different parts of the body and their origin in the different parts of the body. So we can become sensitive to so-called the levers which we can push and pull in order to move ourselves in the direction that we want to move ourselves. So Perek Tes. Hine Mokim Mishkan Nefesh Bahamis, this animal soul, its place of dwelling, its home, which this soul is Meklippas Noiga, right? In a Jew, we said that the animal soul of a Jew is Meklippas Noiga Bechol Ish Yisrael, in every Jewish person. So the dwelling place, the home of that Nefesh Bahamas, is Belev, in the heart, V'cholol hashmali, in the left side, in the left ventricle. Shehu molidam, which is full of oxygenated blood. Blood ready to give power to the body, to animate the body. Ukasiv, as is written, Ki Adam hu nefesh. It says the blood is the soul, meaning the soul power, the power of the animal soul to animate, give animus to us, is resident in the blood. The blood carries everything. Kol ha-Teves v'hispares, all the desires that we have, and all the self-centeredness that we have. Here, Spiros is from Lashon Teferes, right? Our, Elisheva Marsh Kirshima, she's here, wrote a very nice thing about, at first glance, Yosef's beautifying himself looks like a very egotistical thing. So we were taking that word. When beauty is on that side, yeah, it's very egotistical. So this blood in the animal soul, the power of the animal soul, is connected with taiva and with self-beautification and kas and anger, v'demehem, and all the other, we call them in the context of Tanya, negative midos, negative effects of the animal soul. In Belev, and they reside, that source of those negative energies in a person, they reside in the heart, in that oxygenated blood in the heart. And from the heart, they go out and influence the rest of the body. And they even go up to the brain. So this is important because often when we talk about one of the major principles of the Tanya is the brain rules the heart. But it can be for one side or the other. Since the oxygenated energy of the blood, full of its taivas and its self-centeredness, goes to the brain, so the brain, can come back and influence the heart in a way which is purely self-centered. So that oxygenated blood goes up from the heart and it rises up to the brain, shabaraish, in the head, to think about those taivas, those self-gratifications, etc., etc., and even become wise, a wise person about all those self-centered things. Just as the blood, its center is in the heart, and from the heart goes out to all the limbs, and it goes even up to the head, and then comes full circle, etc. So that's the resident home of the Nefesh Bahamas and its ability to squeeze through the contracting of that left ventricle, influence and penetrate all the functions and all the limbs and organs, including the brain of a person. However, thank God, there's another general in this. There's another army over here. But the place of the home of the dwelling place of the godly soul, it starts in the brain. The moichin shibarosh. Now, what's important here, though he doesn't write this on the page, but we know this from other places, the brain, the power of the brain, we've talked about the various layers of consciousness in the brain. The brain is connected, chokhmah me'ayin timotzeh. Chokhmah, that deep power of the brain, has a connection and is an intermediary on the downside between our downside, meaning the physical human being, and the upside, which is the ayin, the Ein Sof, the Or Ein Sof. And that's where the Nefesh Elokis is getting its power from. The Nefesh Elokis is getting its power from the ayin, from the Or Ein Sof, which injects itself and fuses into Chokhmah Shebareish in the brain. Umesham, back in the Tanya, Umisham Isvashetes, and from there, from the Chokhmah, which is an intermediary and a source of connection to the Ayin, to the Ein Sof. From there, that energy is mispashet l'kol hevorim, to all the limbs, the gam belev. Now here's the moyach shalat alalev, the moyach hachochma, the moyach hachochma, that power of chochma, which we've spoken about earlier in the time, you koyach ma. You take the word chochma and divide it, koyach ma, the power to recognize the unrecognizable, the ineffable, the godly. And that spreads from the nefesh through that entry point into down through the whole body and even into the heart. So the godly soul is invested in the heart, and now the heart is a godly heart, a heart whose Teves, same words, right? There are all the four elements. Taiva is water, but this Teves now are Teves for Elikus, and the raising up of oneself is in order to connect with the Havaya and to do what Havaya wants. And the anger is like Moshe Rabbeinu. It's an anger against the nefesh and against the negative forces of negativity. So you have the same midos, but now they become midos of kedusha. So and that's through ayin into the chokhmah into the heart. In the right side of the heart, she'ein bodam, which is not filled with the physical tivus. But the Mashikosev, as is written in Pasuk in Kehelis, Lev Chacham Liyamin, the heart of a wise person is on the right side, the side that's getting influence from the downflow, from the brain down. Vihi Avos Hashem. So that's taiva, desire, love, yearning, but it's love and yearning for Hashem. Kudish Beshel Hevetz, like the flaming fire. Here's that one of the four foundations. It can be a fire for the negative or a fire for Hashem. A love, Kudish Be'esh, a love of Hashem like flaming fire. Shel Heves Mishaleves Belev, which is a burning, rising flame in the heart. In the heart of whom? In the heart of Maskilim, those who understand, who are using their Koyach HaChochmah, Umavinim, and who understand and use their power of Bina, Umizboininim, and use that infusion from Ein Sof into Chochmah, and Chochmah into Bina to ponder and meditate. And now back in Tanya, Umizboininim, and meditate, Bedaitum, with their power of Das, the third intellectual faculty, which connects the brain to the heart. Asher b'moicha, and those three powers, Chochmah, Bina, and Das, which are in the brain, use those powers and meditate and tie yourself firmly in devorim hama'orim esa'ava, those things and those thoughts which arouse the love of Hashem. V'chein simchas levo b'teferes Hashem, and also the joy of the heart in experiencing and feeling the beauty of Hashem, v'hada ga'oinai, and the beauty of His majesty. Asha einei ha'chacham, when the wise, it says the einei ha'chacham b'reish, the eyes of a person are in his head, right? So the eyes are looking up. The eyes are looking up into Bina, into Chachma, and into beyond Chachma, and bringing that down into the heart. The eyes of a person, are in, eyes of a Chachma, that the eyes of a wise person are in his head, in the power of Chachma and Bina, of course, of the godly soul. And there, those eyes, those figurative eyes in the head, are looking. Chachma is always connected with seeing, and Bina with hearing. So one's intellectual eyes, one's mindful eyes are staring at, gazing at, mistaklim, b'yerakoda de malka, into the beauty of the king. The Teferes Gudulosoi, and the Teferes, the multicolored beauty of his greatness. Ad Ein Cheker, which has no end, you can't search after it, you'll never find it. The Ein Sof, you can't search after it, and it has no end. The Ein Sof Tachlis, and it has no limit. Kimavur b'machamacher, as explained in another place, and we'll explain this at length in Shari Kabir Muna. So this is the midah of Avos Hashem, which is the one he's spoken about. But of course, this applies to all the other holy midos, shebalev, of the heart, shehein michabad shebemoichin. And that's the punchline. All the holy midos of the heart are derivative and born from the Chabad of one's brain, and the Chabad has a window into the ayin. So the ayin, the Ein Sof, is mamsha into your brain, then into your heart, and then into your actions. So these are the two forces. This force of the Nefesh Bahamis, whose home is the heart and influences the body from there, and then the Nefesh Elokis, whose home is the head and influences the body, including the heart, from there. That's today's Tanya. Brief. Comments? Questions? So the Alter Rebbe is positioning us to say, okay, now we know these two. We know the two souls. We know the two domains, and the next thing we're going to know is that la'um yamatz. One is always strengthening itself against the other. It's a battle. The battle of the worlds. The battle. Somebody titled the book one thing, The War of Two Worlds, using that as a title for what the Tanya is. The War of Two Worlds, something like that. All right. If there's no comment, well, then at least we'll have to run through the Bechain.
Well,
somebody. Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it's a comment or it's a Bechain, but it's just really beautiful that, we come to the point of this brief but very powerful consolidation of the two souls. And we realize it's our bracha. It's like an amazing gift from Hashem to us that we have through Chachma and Bina, we have through the eyes of our soul, that we're able to perceive the essence and the beauty and the glory of Hashem daily, in our daily lives, through our practice of being Jewish women, people. It's really...
If I may say something, because your words have prompted me to say, it's given me, as you're talking, the bechain of it. I can have a choice. Which eyes am I going to look through? The eyes of the Nefesh Bahamis or the eyes of the Nefesh Elokis? And that will make the whole difference to how my day unfolds.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are the passions of the animal soul ever a good thing?
Yes, absolutely. When you sweeten them. You probably, I don't know if I'll say it, and when I say it, you'll probably remember, because I've said this so many times, the mashal of the Mittler Rebbe, about how a stallion can take a man to a place that the man couldn't get to on his own.
Right. You had mentioned that before, right?
Yeah. So yes, the animal soul, when you get into the depth of it, the animal soul is actually sourced deeper than the godly soul. And that's indicated down here on planet Earth by the power that an animal has over, the sheer raw power that the animal has over and above and stronger than the man. So the animal's strength over man is an indication of the animal's source deeper in God consciousness than the godly soul. As a result of which, when your first step, of course, is you have to subjugate, put off in the corner, the natural attraction that you have to the animal per se, to be a horse, to be a gunslinger, right? To just have that raw animal power. And then you start to work on that. The first step, that's hachnoah, that's subjugation. Then you have to separate yourself from that and focus on developing, that's havdalah, separating yourself and focus on developing the powers of the godly soul, which, remember, came into your body secondarily. Chapter 1 is the animal soul. Chapter 2 is the godly soul. And then you come to the ability to integrate the two in a way, and this is the third portion, which is hamtoka, to sweeten the animal so that the animal actually becomes enlisted in, because its panemius desire, since it comes from the higher place, is also to unify with its source. That's its panemius desire. And when you can wake up your animal, now you can engage with your animal, so-called sweeten the animal, and wake the animal up, then the animal can take you. And that's back to your beginning. Yes, the answer is yes, the positive power of the animal.
But you have to go through that whole process until you can trust that.
Yeah, because it's shorter for one people than the other, because the natural, what we're born with is a predominance of the animal soul to keep us trapped into the world of nature.
Right.
Some people get out of it quicker than others, but yeah, but you
So
have to
it's like
deal with
it's like taking a stallion and taming it.
Exactly.
Because if you don't train it, then it can't take you anywhere. It'll just keep bucking you off.
Yeah, unfortunately, they use the word in horsing, breaking the stallion.
Right.
But we're not going to break it. We're going to transform it.
Right.
But that's actually what happens. Imagine, get in your mind a picture of a jockey on a horse in the Kentucky Derby. They're like one. The horse and the rider are one. That's, first of all, the rider's usually pretty small. They make the jockey short. But if you just look at a picture of that, in this still picture, you'll see there's a unity between the human and the animal. And the animal is doing the will of the rider. And in doing so, taking the rider to the place that the rider could never get to without that horse.
So that's the job of the godly soul, is to transform the passions of the animal soul through that three-part process.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly.
I just want to emphasize one of the points in that beautiful discussion, which you said at the end, which is that the potential is to bring unity. We often think that the potential is to separate and lower one or discard one in favor of the other. But really, the highest level of potential, at least this is what I understand as a Balei Tshuva, is to bring unity and cooperation between them. They're both meant to serve God. And they
absolutely, that's what we just said.
But unified form to really do that.
We what?
They have to come into this unity, this cooperative dance, partnership together to really do that.
Right. That's the muscle of the jockey and the horse. What the horse can't win the race without the jockey, and the jockey can't win the race without the horse.
Right. It's also what Elisheva wrote in her beautiful piece that everybody was commenting on here. The first reaction is the body is a negative, right? Well, is that we learn it in the Tanya. That's the first step. The first step, which is putting the body into its place for the sake of being able to bring it to a greater beauty. And the ultimate beauty is the beauty of the physical, right? Because Ma'aseh hu ha'ikar, the main is the deed.
Right.
So the end game, the culmination is that the body becomes beautiful, but not in the, I'm using your, not in the Greek way, right? Where our whole preoccupation is on the physical beauty, but in the Torah way, where the body is the chariot for godliness.
And it's interesting because the heart itself demonstrates that in the fact that the passion, the fire, and all the vitality is in the left side where the blood is oxygenated. And the right side, there's no blood, where the godly soul dwells. So it needs that vitality in order to do its job.
I mean, you're pointing something which is very beautiful, which is the heart itself. We've talked about two sides, but it operates as an integrated whole, right?
Right.
Both sides are doing what they need to do in total integration and cooperation. And that's the end, where the animal and the godly are in total cooperation, and the animal becomes a chariot for godliness.
Right. I mean, mamish cannot have one side of the heart without the other. You can't live.
Right. A nefesh elokis without a body is the state we were in before we came down.
Right.
And that is not the state that God ultimately desires. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent us down. He sent us down into the body in order primarily to bring out the incredible depth that exists in the physical more than in the spiritual. The spiritual, the physical contains essence. The spiritual is just a path down to revealing that essence.
Thank you.
What do you always quote? Hashem made physical out of spiritual, and we make
Right.
spiritual out of physical.
Yeah. Right. It's not my quotes from the Rebbe, but yeah, we use it a lot. Yep. All right. So I think we have a good, first of all, Oz has increasingly, we're having, I think, increasingly good conversations. And secondly, I think we have some, even though they may not have been articulated, great bechems. We have a tremendous opportunity today to take every piece of this physical, animated animal world and elevate it through the powers of our godly soul. Even though he's created, as we'll see tomorrow, two equal battles, right? And there has to be something that gives that overpowering quality to the godly soul. So we'll get into that tomorrow. All right. A good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you
You
so
got it.
much.
You
Yeah.
got it.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
That was so cool.